You're listening to the Nutmeg Theory Football Podcast.
Beckham! That's absolutely brilliant. Brilliant from Messi. Oh, what a goal that is! Balotelli, Aguero!
I guess we'll kick things off in Manchester, with the Manchester derby, where City were playing away to United at Old Trafford. The score was 3-0. What did we take out of the game?
I can't say it didn't surprise anybody, because I think we all expected that. I think a 3-0 result was just the reality check that Moyes needed, and despite beating Bayern and West Ham, I think he just came back to earth pretty harshly.
It didn't surprise me, the result. The manner of the defeat surprised me. I expected United to show a bit more fight, a bit more determination going forward. They just looked like toothless up front.
Did Moyes get his team selection right?
In my opinion, no. I probably wouldn't have had Cleverly starting. I would have had Kagawa in there. A bit more creativity. Cleverly...
Well, I guess the roller coaster continues for the fans. When one week they're celebrating victories and look like going back into form, and I agree to say that it was a reality check for them. It just shows you the difference of level this season for Man U, coming up against Liverpool and Man City.
But as Jono said, no fight, and it's a derby. Turn it up, boys.
I know, if you can't get up, if you can't get up for this,
oh mate, it's a derby. It's the
and
biggest.
there was no atmosphere at the ground. The early goal sort of took away the atmosphere.
Well, at 2-0 to City, 30,000 people apparently left the ground.
Doesn't surprise me.
So it's a Manchester derby. You need to stay there and get behind your team. You need to be there for your team so they can lift. Now, when you've got that many fans leaving the stadium at 2-0 down, how can you expect your side to bounce back from that? They got humiliated by Liverpool a fortnight ago. Absolutely humiliated at home to one of their biggest rivals in the Premier League. And then you welcome City. You're on a high after 2 wins. You want your fans to back you, and it's 2-0 to City, and you're going home.
It's also a chance to dent their title hopes as well, but lack of fight for me.
All right, let's talk about City for a second now. Who was good? Who stood out to you?
I thought David Silva was the star player of the team.
Yeah.
Just he looks dangerous every time he gets the ball. Like creativity, everyone sort of feeds off him. Nasri was alright as well.
Nah, David Silva. He's the playmaker. He's the maestro.
Without him pulling the strings there, they don't look as dangerous.
Don't forget City were without Aguero. Dzeko started. Dzeko usually needs 3-4 chances to get on the score sheet.
That's right.
Well, United didn't have Vidic or Van Persie, so it was even in terms of lineups, I thought.
Looking at the stats for this morning's game, if you didn't know the scoreline, you wouldn't have guessed it. Pretty even on shots on target. Possession, 50-50 really.
City's more potent.
Well, that just proves to you that
Plus Hart had a good game. Hart had a pretty good game, to be fair.
Being away, I think Man City, they knew the tactics that they were going to play, and they must have stuck to the system, and it obviously worked. Even at the end, Yaya's goal, that was pretty...
icing on the cake, wasn't it?
Also this morning at Arsenal playing Swansea, that was at the Emirates. Oxlade-Chamberlain and Gibbs, they were both available to play. Neither player.
Yeah, so it was a very quick turnaround by the FA to allow them to play. So obviously I think they've done the right thing, the FA, not muck around in delaying the decision.
Just get on with it.
Yeah, that's right.
I was a bit surprised with the way Arsenal started the game. I thought after losing 6-0 away to Chelsea, I thought they'd come out a little bit more on the front foot, more aggressive.
Well, 2-2 was the result.
Yeah, Wenger admitted after the last game, that he got the tactics completely wrong. But you could see it the whole game in their high defensive line, and
too many players pushed forward.
After they went down 2-0, 3-0, they just sort of had the attitude where they kept playing to whatever they really wanted. Like Wenger obviously didn't change the tactics too much.
But Flamini's goal, unlucky as goal. he doesn't score that, we're talking about a 2-1 victory.
Yeah.
And he's back on track.
I thought the result was fair.
The result was fair. Very unlucky for me.
It is very unlucky.
Because everyone was talking about he should have been in the starting lineup against Chelsea last weekend. And he possibly should have.
He should have, yeah.
And, you know, to score an own goal the week after, unlucky. But, fair result, 2-2. The draw was definitely...
I think that puts Arsenal out of the title race.
I think
Yeah,
so,
I was just about to ask, can we put a red line through Arsenal for this season?
Yeah, I think so.
Gone?
Yeah.
Gone?
Yeah.
Put a red line through them, and the way Everton are playing right now, they got to watch out for top 4 as well.
Does Arsenal hold on to 4th spot?
Everton and Tottenham kicking at their heels. Do they have the potency to do it? Arsene Wenger, he always gets it done, so I'm probably going to say yes. He'll find a way.
I'd agree too. 4th place is probably where we all expected Arsenal at the start of the season. The more interesting for me is Everton actually finishing above Tottenham, which looks likely.
And they've got a game in hand as well.
Yes.
Looks very likely.
I think Arsenal hold on to 4th. I think that they're a little bit too far ahead of Tottenham and Everton at the moment. I think that Tottenham are a bit inconsistent at the moment. They'd have to win most of their games left and hope Arsenal were to drop. I don't think that's possible. So I'd back Arsenal to get 4th. And also, if Arsenal can win the FA Cup and get 4th spot, is that a failure this season for Arsenal?
If they lose the FA Cup?
If they win the FA Cup and they get 4th spot, is that a failure?
No, that's a successful season.
It's a trophy. It's what they want, isn't it?
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, pre-season, I didn't expect Arsenal to win anything. To be honest, I was I had question marks whether they'd finish top 4.
Yes.
So if they finish in 4th spot, qualify for the Champions League. If they win the FA Cup, that's a trophy. I think that's a successful season for Arsenal. It's something to build on.
Yep. According to The Guardian, I'm hearing Arsene Wenger has told his players that he's
Holding off for a contract.
he's going to be resigning at the end of the season.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I was just going to bring that up actually. I understand most of the fans and the club officials would be happy with what Wenger's done for the club.
Yes.
You know, using the youth system and, you know, not spending a whole amount of money. Obviously, that's good for the guys that are invested in the club. But is it getting old? Are we getting bored of Wenger? Do you think the fans need something more exciting? Even the players, maybe, you know, like the ones
a fresh change,
Yeah,
a new
you know,
face,
it just-
new
a
ideas,
different direction, maybe.
Different direction.
Yeah, and look, it might not work. You know, if Wenger leaves, they get a coach that hasn't really proved himself in Europe, someone that can, you know, get a bit of respect from the players. You know, they might struggle the first couple of seasons, and
I reckon I think the Dortmund coach Jurgen Klopp is a good
he'd be
choice for Arsenal going forward.
yes, because I
think he's out of contract as well, so.
He's the sort of guy that wouldn't be afraid to splash the cash. It seems like in the Premier League, in order to be competitive, both domestically and in Europe, you've got to spend. You look at Chelsea, you look at City, they're spending their money. United, you look at what's happened to them by not spending. Yeah, they brought in Mata, yeah, they brought in Fellaini, but they need to spend big in the off-season. You've got to spend money. Look at Spurs. You've got to do it, and unfortunately Arsenal have not been doing that the last couple of years, and in this modern age, it's just not good enough.
At the end of the day, are Arsenal after trophies or are they after business? Do they want a successful business or do they want trophies? They've got to weigh up what they...
At the end of the day,
what their preference is.
Look, at the end of the day, it is business, and they're the best at it.
Yeah. They're very good at
They're
it.
very good at it, and
But-
that all comes down to Arsene. But at the end of the day, these fans, all right, they've got the money, the finances behind them, but there's nothing in the trophy cabinet. How long's it been? 9 years.
This will be 9 years.
9 years. I
This will be
mean,
the 9th year.
would you tolerate it?
No.
I probably wouldn't.
It gets a little bit old, I think. He's coached 1,000 games. The first 500 games were... He had trophies in that period. The last 500 games, he hasn't won nothing.
That's right. So time's moved on with it.
Time's moved on. I think his style of plays is a little bit outdated sometimes.
It is, especially
against the
Premier
big
League.
boys, yeah.
Yeah.
I read a stat today that they out of the top 4 teams this season, they've got 4 points out of 45, which is not good enough to win the title, in my opinion.
No, it's not.
So
They're leaking goals too. I mean, they conceded 6 to City. They conceded 6 to Chelsea on the weekend.
to the big boys.
They conceded 4 goals in the opening 20 minutes against Liverpool.
Yeah.
You just can't.
No,
know,
they're
they
the
just don't measure up.
direct competition. If they do that to them, what chance have they got of winning the league?
Speaking of winning the league, who's our money on at the moment, boys? You got Chelsea on top. They're 3 points ahead of City. City have got 2 games in hand still. They sit in second spot at the moment. Liverpool to play tomorrow morning, who could leapfrog Man City if they win that.
My money's on Manchester City. I think that they'll win the majority of their games left. They've only got a tough away game to Liverpool, which I think they can get a result in that game. I think Chelsea have to play Liverpool as well, away at Anfield. Manchester City got more of a chance to win that than Chelsea do. So my money would be on Manchester City to finish top. Chelsea second, Liverpool third.
I totally agree. I think City are by far the strongest, despite a couple of injuries. Even though Chelsea have got a couple of their own, I think City are far too potent, far too strong with the games in hand and their run home. I think Manchester will be blue at the end of the season.
The way Liverpool are playing right now, they're scoring a lot of goals, but they're leaking a lot of goals as well. I can see a high scoring game against City, but I think City's defence is stronger than Liverpool, so I think my money would be on City in that game. So City to win the title for me.
Yeah,
That Liverpool Man City game would be very decisive, I reckon.
huge. Yeah,
But look, I mean, for Man City, the next 2 games that they've got ahead, no. I'm saying
Games in hand. Yeah.
There's a lot of
Games,
pressure
2 games
to
in
win
hand.
these games.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
One's at home to Sunderland,
It's-
and the other one is...
You know, would you agree to say that it's Man City's title to,
to lose, yes.
Would you
Well,
say
it's in their
that?
hands.
I
It's
think
in their
so.
hands.
If they win their
One hand's
games,
on the trophy.
they win the title. If they win their games, they win the title.
They've got the firepower. You can't. It's
I
hard
mean,
to
look,
bet
you
against them.
can't. Yeah, you can't put away Chelsea and say no, they won't do it.
Yeah.
Mourinho.
Yeah, I mean they got that factor.
He's got that experience of winning it before.
And look, Liverpool. I mean,
Who would have thought?
yeah, exactly. Who would have thought they are where they are?
Everybody was questioning the signing of Sturridge at the start of the season. Or
And
start
look
of
at
last
that. Look at
season.
that. They're talking about tripling his salary, even maybe more money than Suarez.
At the moment, if you were to pick a World Cup squad for England, for Brazil, arguably Sturridge is one of the first names on that
He
team
is.
sheet.
And you look at his competition in Rooney and the money he's on, and this season alone, I think Sturridge deserves it.
Oh, absolutely.
So, it just goes to show.
All right, then who gets the 5th UEFA spot? Or the
5th and 6th.
Yeah.
I think Everton finished 5th and Tottenham finished 6th. Whether that changes or not, I think United are out of Europe. I think they'll finish 7th, and they need to have a good hard look at themselves.
So
Whether
how
they
long,
clean out or change coach, I don't know. But anyway.
how long do we give Moyes before? Because you think any other club in Europe, to be fair, not any other club, but most of the clubs, the same run as Moyes, they'd probably be sacked. This day and age, gone.
It's a big decision to make because he's signed a long-term deal, and will they allow him to rebuild the club? Do they have
And
the
he's
faith?
he's Ferguson's appointment.
choice. Do they have the faith in him to rebuild, or they look elsewhere? But I don't know who's available at the moment. That could take
Fit
over.
in,
You know.
yeah. Well, we all know Mourinho wanted it, but Ferguson didn't want Mourinho.
No.
But would he have got the job done? Who knows?
I think he would have.
Would Ferguson have got the job done with the current squad, including Mata and Fellaini, that Moyes had purchased?
Well, if we were to, let's say, assume that David Moyes doesn't become the United manager, that Sir Alex Ferguson stays on for another year, Fellaini, I don't believe, gets bought. I don't believe that they bring in Mata.
Definitely not.
You look at guys like Gundogan, Thiago, Leighton Baines, even Cesc Fabregas. With Ferguson at the helm, do these players think twice about signing with United? Is it more an attractive thing? And if those players do go to United with the squad that they have now, is that good enough to shake things up?
I think that's been the problem with Van Persie. He signed to play under Ferguson.
That's right, yeah.
So this season you haven't seen the same sort of player. Whether he's been injured or not, his mental, his
He's
mind
meant to
is
stay.
not.
You can
he's
see.
not on the job.
He went for Ferguson. He's
And-
admitted that.
And there's a bit of a rift with Rooney as well. So I'm not too sure what to make of it. I don't expect him to stay next season. I expect him to go somewhere else. I think he'll go
Van Persie?
abroad. Yeah, I don't think he'll stay in England.
You don't think he'll go back to...
No, I don't think he'll go back to Arsenal. I've got a sneaky suspicion he'll be going to Juventus.
You've got the mail.
I've got my sources.
You've got your sources.
There's a little bird tweeting you.
I do. I've got a feeling he's going to be going to Juventus.
Even with their, the way they're doing in Serie A, in Llorente and Tevez, do you reckon? Because they were rumoured to wanted him before, but he sort of turned him down for United.
Yeah,
Do you think they'd take him?
I think they will because I mean, they've got Llorente, they've got Tevez, but after that, it's sort of there's
They've
not
got
much there.
Javinko on the outs, Quagliarella on the outs.
I reckon those kind of players will be looking to move on. So yeah,
Okay, we'll move our attention to La Liga. I've heard a lot of people say that this Clasico has actually lived up to its name. It was 4-3 to Barcelona at the Bernabeu. 2 penalties to Barcelona, 1 to Real Madrid. A red card to Sergio Ramos. I guess that's where we'll start. Should Ramos have been given that red card?
first of all, I do think it was a good Clasico. I think it was one of the better ones we've seen for a while. I must say that people were forgetting that there were very good Clásicos in the early 2000s as well. The last sort of 5 to 6 Clásicos have been sort of... What's the word?
A bit fiery. A bit controversial.
A bit fiery, controversial, and sort of taken away from the spectacle a little bit. So, in terms of that aspect, there was less of that in this match. I think the Mourinho factor as well, him not being there, sort of took the bite out of it. There wasn't much build up to the game as much as what it has been.
Yeah,
Ancelotti
doesn't play.
Ancelotti after the game didn't whinge, he didn't complain about officials, he didn't say nothing. They said they were the better team. Also, I do think that the game was quite even up until the red card. I think that
It was very even. It could have gone either way.
I do think early on Barcelona, for the first 10 minutes, I thought Barcelona were very good. They scored a great goal with Iniesta, and Messi missed a 1-on-1. Could have been 2-0 to Barcelona, and then for the next 20 minutes was sort of all Real Madrid a little bit.
All Madrid.
And
Di Maria
Benzema could have scored 4 goals in that period.
If there was no red card, no penalty, it could have been a whitewash. Really, it just that definitely was the turning moment.
But if Barca scored the second goal for 2-0, it could have been a different.
But yeah, that's another story.
You know what
as
I mean?
Well. But
So-
just going back to whether it was a red card or not, watching it live in real time, it looks like clearly it's. I think the quality of the ball that gets put through and Neymar's first touch gives him the direction. He's guaranteed to score here. He goes down, doesn't look over exaggerate like a dive, so it doesn't really look like a dive. But then you look at the replays and minimal contact.
If it's a
any.
penalty, he has to go.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
was there contact on Neymar? Given that he was running towards goal, Sergio Ramos was the last defender.
Well, you got to look at both opinions. I mean, I've seen a lot of opinions from different people the last couple.
Because
of
if
days.
there's contact
Some
on
are saying-
Neymar,
well, you can look at it and go, well, if you're running full speed ahead and you get a tiny little
clip,
touch,
yeah.
that little clip just puts you out of your step and you hit the ground.
In my opinion, I think he got clipped. Probably not enough to exaggerate as much as he did, but enough to go down. Like, you see that every week. You see Robin, you see all these type of players doing the same thing. So it's not surprising what happened.
The other thing, he's come with a reputation to Barcelona, being a diver.
Exaggerating
And-
fouls and...
Yeah, looking at a penalty decision like that, red card, a lot of people say, most likely he's milked it, dived or whatever.
If it was a dive, he acted within the laws of the game, and there's not going to be a penalty for him, even if it was a dive, because in La Liga, I've never seen it. But fair is fair. I think Ronaldo got a penalty where he shouldn't have been awarded one with his tackle outside the box, and they weren't not guilty of diving either. Ronaldo he dived himself.
okay. Well, what does that mean
it
in the
means-
title race? Given that Atletico, they won their game, so they sit now on top.
But head-to-head comes into it.
Head-to-head.
So no goal difference.
Head-to-head first and then goal difference.
Yeah.
If Atletico win the remaining games for the rest of the season, they win the title. They're in the box seat right now.
They're in the box seat. You've still got Barcelona, who's only 1 point behind both of them. Can you see Barcelona? Can you see Real Madrid? Can you see Atletico dropping points between now and the end of the season?
Barcelona got a tricky game next weekend against Espanyol. It's a derby. It's always a tough game away. They always try to make life difficult for Barcelona, so that's a possible slip up.
Yeah.
I think Real Madrid play Sevilla away and then Sociedad on the weekend. I think they're 2 possible slip ups, but after that, I don't see it. So I think this weekend,
I think all
weekend plays a
teams-
crucial part to give us more of an idea of what's going to happen.
I don't think it matters who they play for the rest of the season. They're all capable of dropping points against anyone. The lower teams, when a big team like Madrid, Atletico, Barca turn up, the players turn up. They lift. Even if it's a bottom 4 or 5 side, everybody lifts when the big teams comes to your home ground.
Especially now that Champions League's going to resume back as well, that might take the focus away from some of the teams as well. So
But it makes it interesting for a for the neutral,
Good finale to the
Yeah.
season.
Yeah,
It certainly puts to bed that 2-horse race. It's always talked about. I think it's good. It's good for the league that Atletico Madrid's really stepped up despite losing a fair few players to transfers.
Can Atletico win? La
I'd love
Liga?
to see it.
Can they?
Of course they can.
they
Of
can.
course they can.
And the thing is, though, everybody's doubting they can.
They are.
What-
They're the dark. To be fair,
They are the
they're-
dark
they're
horse.
the dark horse. And they're still
this
in the top
season, they're
spot,
clearly underrated.
That's right.
Nobody has even mentioned them much, even though they've been up top 3 all season. At the moment, sitting on top. Nobody throws that name in. You ask, who's going to win La Liga? It's always Madrid and Barca, even in this season.
They've been lucky this year with no injuries as well. They've had a solid foundation most of the season.
And Diego Costa, to be fair, has had a
Costa up
season
front.
of his life.
Their back four is very, very solid. They've had most of them most of the time,
I
most
think
games this
one of
season
their
as
best
well.
players is the Turkish midfielder.
Arturin.
Yes, yeah.
Very good.
Brilliant.
They signed Diego back from Wolfsburg, and he's barely played. Shows you the depth in the team now.
So who does win it?
God. It's
Right now, if I was to put money, my money would be on Real Madrid. I think they'll win their remaining games and win the title.
I think it's a flip of the coin, to be honest with you. From a neutral perspective,
No, sitting on the fence, mate.
I'm going to ride the wave and congratulate whoever wins. But it'd be good for Atletico to buck the trend.
Who wins it?
I will go ahead and say I think Real Madrid will win it this year.
Real Madrid.
I'm going to say Real Madrid as well. I think they've been more consistent all season, and in the last 9 games remaining, losing the Classic, all right, they lost it, but they'll quickly get over that and realise the task ahead of them.
And they've got the Balloon d'Or.
They're still a point ahead of Barcelona.
Okay, well, I've got Madrid to win it. They'll hold on. Moving on to the Bundesliga now. Bayern Munich beat Hertha Berlin this morning 2-1. So Bayern Munich win the title with 7 games in hand.
Is that a record in Bundesliga?
It's another record. Yeah, I think they're the first team to win it in March.
Okay.
Also, Dortmund have been very unlucky this season with injuries. So
Well, they haven't had their centre-back pairing for how long now?
Subotic is out for the season. The left back Schmelzer is out. He's been out. Gundogan is out. They've had
Hummels has been in and out as well.
So
Plus, you got to think Lewandowski, with his eventual move, has it turned the players off a little.
Yeah.
The fans are always, they've got a fantastic fan base, but was there ever any doubt that Bayern were going to lose it?
Plenty of
Is
disruptions.
Bayern Munich better under Pep Guardiola? Are they a better side this year than they were last year?
In my opinion, I think yes. Well, they broke the record for the amount of goals, I think 3 weeks ago. The most goals ever in the full season. They're playing more attractive. They're scoring more goals. They're dominating teams more than they did last season. But it's going to come down to Champions League at the end of the season. If they don't win the Champions League, is it a failure season?
No, definitely not a failure of season.
Are they happy with just the league title? Or is it Champions League? Is it make or break to win the Champions League or not?
I personally think that they want to be the side to win back-to-back Champions Leagues. It hasn't happened in the new Champions League era since 92. I think it's big. I think that the people that own the club, when Pep Guardiola went there, I think they got Pep Guardiola because they wanted to win back-to-back.
Well, they're definitely the strongest team in Europe, and they're my favourites to win the Champions League. I don't see any. Where's their weakness?
They're well balanced. They're well balanced.
Saying that, okay, they've completely outclassed everyone in Germany. They've proven themselves, but how much of a challenge have they had up to this stage in the Champions League? Do you know who can you say
Manchester
they
United.
Just Manchester City in the group stage, but it was Manchester City and Bayern Munich, the 2 best teams in that group, and the other 2 weren't as strong. So them 2 are always going to get through.
And having said that, it was a dead rubber, so to speak.
It was.
Bayern Munich had top spot wrapped up, but they had nothing to play for.
Yeah. I also think that the Champions League will be tougher this season than last season. I think they've got more chance to lose a game when it's a one-off game, like in the final. I think over 2 legs will be too strong for most teams. Yeah. But in a one-off final, I think that's a game they could, if it's against Madrid or Barcelona or Chelsea, I think it's a game they could lose in a one-off game. But in a 2-legged game, I can't see it. I can't see them losing. But
back to Bundesliga. What does Dortmund really have to do? All right, the whole title race is over. What does Dortmund do at this point, or even Schalke? Do they start bringing in some of their youth players and look at trying to
There's still Champions League spots for next season up for
They
grabs.
have to maintain their second spot.
You've got Bayern Munich who are miles ahead of second spot, and then you've got basically a gridlock of teams that are all in the mix for Champions League spots. So Lewandowski's going to Bayern. If Marco Reus leaves Borussia Dortmund, there's also talk that Hummels may be on Barcelona's radar. If these guys leave Borussia Dortmund, where does it leave them next season?
It could turn very nasty for them. And it could change the whole dynamics of Germany into.
And it could come down to the coach as well. Is the coach going to stay? We don't know. We don't know that yet.
To finish off, Harry Kewell announced his retirement today. Playing for the Melbourne Heart currently in the Hyundai A-League. Announced today that that's it. How do we look back on his career? Is it the right time? Should he have done it sooner?
No, definitely not sooner. Unfortunately, obviously, he's had some injury problems the last 2 years.
Do you think he should have kept playing?
No, I think it's a good time for him to end it.
I think in the back of my mind, I think he's been trying to hang out for the World Cup. I think he's figured out that he's probably not going to make the squad. So I
don't reckon he belongs in the squad. Okay,
you need some experience in the squad because Ange's got a lot of young players in the team. I think you need a few older boys in there, and Kuhl's probably the one I would take over Lucas Neal if I was to pick one of the two for the experience factor. But
I'm glad he's finished his career in Australia, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's what I meant by...
He's given back to the game.
He has.
Back to the game. Grassroots
It shows his passion for the game. People will argue he should have retired sooner, and I might have been one of those people. But the fact that he's come back here, played for Melbourne Heart, and knocked off in Australia, I think it's a great thing for the game.
He started in the Melbourne Victory.
Yeah.
He went out on loan, played 3 games with someone else.
Look, Harry Kewell to Australia's learning football culture, as in the fans that are still undecisive about soccer in this country. You know, you mentioned Harry Kewell's playing tonight for Australia in a friendly. People will, watch the game because
he's box office.
He is. He'll put bums on seats. Yeah. He'll put TVs on. He's still that guy.
Well, he's Australia's boy wonder. I mean,
he is.
What Harry Kewell has done for football in his country is almost on par to what David Beckham has done for football in England. He almost took us to the World Cup in '98. It was when he scored that goal against Iran. It's one of my favourite moments when he runs over to that corner post. But he's been a trooper. He has. He's
well, all these injuries, he may as well have been a trooper.
He may as well.
I've actually been fortunate enough to meet Harry Kewell. And he's a
How old are you?
back at school.
Yeah,
he's a very nice guy, and I think he'll be remembered as one of our greats, if not the greatest Australian footballer of all time. Yeah. He's played a big part in a lot of young Australians' footballing lives.
Yeah, people have looked up to him.
So it'll be interesting now to see what he does. Does he move back to England with his wife, or does he settle down back here in Australia? Well, who cares?
Well, look, he's got enough money to not be looking for a job anyway in Australia.
You think so?
He's got enough money, obviously, to retire.
He might turn to a coaching role in Australia. You never know.
Kitty lesson.
Well, it's been great. It's been fun. Our first ever podcast of Had a Ball. I thought it went well.
Thanks, boys.
Thanks for joining us.
More memorable times in the future.
We mentioned your name, but my name's Ilya, and this is
Johnny boy. We'd like to thank all our sponsors.
Well, that's it. That's it from me. Rocky.
Rocky.
Yeah.
Arrivederci.
Say bye, guys. Catch you all next week.
Ciao.
Bye.